It's taken longer than we hoped, but 9 games in, and Nebraska can finally clinch a bowl berth. We saw this movie before, a 5-3 team, seniors motivated to get their 6th win against an opponent with a losing record, and as soon as you got your hopes up, it all came crashing down. But this year's different. QB1's still healthy. The defense just held a top 5 team to 60 yards on the ground, and since they've been here before, this team knows what changes had to be made. So today, we'll talk about Nebraska's path to victory, where UCLA presents the biggest challenge, and what I think the final score will be. But what's up, guys? I'm Connor Hayden, and this is Crazed. If you're a fan of Nebraska or the Big Ten, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss tomorrow night's live show. And if you think Raiola needs to use his legs more often, hit the like button and help us get to 1,000. But now, let's get into it.
He's hit and sacked. He's taking a shot downfield, wide open end zone, caught, touchdown.
It's not going to be like Colorado, but this is one of the biggest home games of the season now that bowl eligibility is on the line. In week 2, we saw over 30 recruits in town to watch Nebraska win, and this weekend, that list is close to 50. Isaiah Mosey, Christian Jones, Dayton Raiola, and Connor Booth headline the commitment list, but they've got big-name targets coming too. I talked about Chase Lofton in my last video, but Brian Bonner's a top 12 4-star running back with offers from Oregon, Auburn, and Georgia. Titan Davis is the number 8 D lineman in the country with offers from OU, Ole Miss, and Penn State. In the class of 2027, Ethan Feaster is one of the top receivers in the entire class who's going to end up a 5-star. And Samaj Stanford's in that same boat, but he lives an hour away from OU, so they'll be a tough one to fight off. After the Indiana loss, everybody wanted to know why Rule couldn't build the same way Cignetti did, but the obvious answer was that he's got a different game plan. There's an old school approach that works for coaches like Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and Dan Lanning. Recruit from high school, develop over the course of 4 years, and then repeat the cycle. The new school line of thinking is to hit the portal hard and ruin your previous school by stealing all the best players, but that only works when you come from a winning college program. The only option for Matt Rule was to do things the old school way. Get your 5-star QB. Win enough to prove that you're just a few key pieces away from being elite, and then ride that momentum to back-to-back top-ranked recruiting classes. It starts here. Prove you can win the games you're supposed to by sending UCLA home after you pick up your 6th win. And speaking of wins, the Prize Picks team texted me to congratulate our group after having so many winners posted in our Discord group. John turned 20 into 140 with this 4-player NBA lineup and another 20 into 70 with 3 Nebraska players against Ohio State and LSU's QB to throw for more than 281. But he wasn't the only one. Tyler sent me this $10 NFL lineup that paid $175, and Ryan had a 4-leg NFL power play that paid $120. If you haven't signed up on the app yet, you can create an account with our promo code CORN and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. And there's no catch to that. You just play one $5 lineup, and whether you win or not, you still get your $50 bonus since you used our code. Our group on Discord has a bunch of guys making picks, so if you want help setting your first lineup, you can hit us up there and start winning with us. Prize Picks is available in Nebraska, California, Texas, and over 30 other states. So if you see your state colored in, you can play on the app. I'll give out my official plays on Thursday night's live stream, but if you have a good read for which players are about to have a big game or you think somebody's going to struggle, you can use our promo code and join us over there. UCLA and Nebraska are in very different places when it comes to their rebuilds. Rule's in year 2 with a first-year QB, multiple underclassmen playing significant roles, and a clear direction for where he wants to take the program. Deshaun Foster's in year 1, working with bounce-back transfers from other schools and a team that wasn't ready for the transition to the Big Ten. They lost to IU by 29, LSU by 17, Oregon by 21, and Penn State by 16. But those are all top 10 caliber teams. Look what happened when they started to play more reasonable competition. Minnesota only won by 4, and Rutgers lost by 3. UCLA lacks the top-end talent and the depth to play against the more polished teams, but their experienced QB and experienced defense can keep them in it against teams who have a similar profile. Nebraska falls into that category. They're further along with their coaching staff, and there's a lot more depth to their roster, but UCLA's fully capable of hanging with any team who isn't consistently dominant. Their offense is led by Ethan Garbers, who was a top 10 QB coming out of high school, but didn't earn the starting job till halfway through last season. He got paired up with Eric Bieniemy at OC, who came over from the NFL, but since they lost their best back, multiple linemen, and their receiving core was rebuilding, they ranked in the bottom 5 nationally in both yards and points per game. But it isn't all their fault. UCLA played 4 of the top 12 defenses in the country to start the year, and trying to rebuild against that is a lot to ask. But go back to last week. They traveled to Rutgers as a 4-point dog, and Garbers has the best game of his career. 32 of 38 for 383 yards, 4 TDs, and no interceptions. He led the team with 48 yards rushing, and UCLA ended up pulling the upset with a 3-point win. And that was without his top 2 receivers getting involved. But the offense lives and dies with Garbers. In the 5 games he played, the running back's lowest rush total was 24 yards at Hawaii, and the highest was 75 against IU. That group averages 50 yards and rarely has explosive plays on the ground. Nebraska's run D has been exceptional. They rank 12th nationally, giving up 98 yards a game. And last week's challenge at Ohio State makes this week look easy. The O-line's weaker, there is no star back, and the QBs are similar in terms of their accuracy and mobility. UCLA is going to test Nebraska all over the field with crossing routes, screens, and passes out of the backfield. But as long as they're not caught getting beat over the top or forgetting that Garbers can take off and run, it's another game where the D shouldn't give up more than 17 points. On defense, UCLA ranks 13th nationally against the run, but I don't think they're actually that good on the line. Teams just know they can exploit them through the air. Part of their issue on D is that they struggle to force turnovers. UCLA's in the bottom 10 nationally with only 5 this year, which is second worst in the conference, only in front of Purdue. Indiana and LSU both threw for over 300. Rutgers hit 290, and although the secondary includes 4 seniors, they're all transfers who were looking for more playing time than they were getting at their other schools. Monungai ran for 106 and 3 TDs. IU's backs combined for over 100 and over 4 yards a carry. This might not be a game where Nebraska runs for over 100 yards, but it doesn't have to be. They're the worst passing D Nebraska's seen all year, and I'd expect Raiola to take advantage. Looking at the edge, I'm giving UCLA the nod on offense. Garbers is off back-to-back games where he went 57 of 74 for 676 yards and 6 touchdowns. His OC's a 2-time Super Bowl champion with Patrick Mahomes, and although they had a slow start since the offense faced so many elite defenses, they've gotten better as the season's gone on, and the receivers are good, even though that room's been hit with some injury issues. On defense, Nebraska just held the best running back room in the country to less than 70 yards on the ground. They've broken a couple times in primetime spots, but against similar competition, they've been elite, holding Colorado to 10, Rutgers to 7, and Purdue to 10. On special teams, UCLA has been more consistent, hitting 83% of their field goals, averaging 19 yards a return and 44 yards a punt. But John Hull has a chance to prove this week that the Ohio State game wasn't just a flash in the pan. Deshaun Foster is still a bit behind as a head coach, and Bieniemy hasn't lit it up as an OC the way I thought he was going to. So Nebraska still gets the edge in coaching. And as far as motivation goes, Nebraska's acting like this is a must-win. Beat UCLA and you get bowl eligible. Beat UCLA and you get momentum going into the bye week to hopefully make a run that could lead to an undefeated November. Vegas has Nebraska as a 6.5-point favorite, and the total set at 39.5, which means they're thinking the score is going to be something like 23-17 Nebraska. And I could get behind that if this game wasn't as big for the team as I think it is. UCLA put up 35 on Rutgers, but Rutgers sucks. They got to 17 against Minnesota, but that was a letdown spot after their upset over USC. 17's a lot to give up for a team who's only allowed 3 teams, who are all ranked in the top 25 by the way, to score more than 10. This spread was closer to 16 before Nebraska got blown out at IU and UCLA got their first conference win. So this 10-point shift feels like too much, especially now that it looks like Nebraska's blowout loss was an anomaly and not a reflection of their overall talent. If you think Nebraska wins, I think you take them to cover. Last week was so disappointing, and the refs affected the game so much that the team's going to have to leave, no doubt. I saw that it might rain on Saturday, but who knows if it'll actually come down during the game or if it's going to be before or after. I do think if there is bad weather, Nebraska is going to benefit from it since they're better at running the ball and UCLA is more reliant on the QB being able to throw it 30 times a game. This one makes me nervous for two reasons. One, because Nebraska's been known to play down to the level of their competition. And if they do, UCLA is going to put up plenty of points and force Raiola to complete some passes that he's been missing over these last couple games. And two, because even though it's not a primetime game, there's a lot of pressure. The team was in the exact same spot last year, 5-3 with a favorable schedule to wrap things up. Just one more win and you're going bowling. Then they folded, and MSU went outright even though they were without their head coach, and they were in a pretty down bad spot as a team. Nebraska has to overcome those mental blockages that hold them back from being the best versions of themselves. I think the maturity on the defensive side recognizes that they're going to have to play their best game to pull off a win, and even though the offense got some confidence last week, they've been making way too many mistakes to be as effective as you'd hope they would with Dylan leading the way. Assuming we get some rain and the penalties that hold the team back continue this week, then I'm going to ride with Nebraska to win 21-13 and expect Dowdell to rush for at least 50 yards to help open up the passing game. And so long as the D holds them to under 17, I feel great about Nebraska getting the win, even if they can't get past 20 and they don't cover the spread. A win sets Nebraska up for a huge showdown with USC and LA, and if they can get some momentum before that one, I think that could go either way, even though USC is going to be the favorite. I tried to get a guest from UCLA for this week, but not a single person responded, and the others I wanted to reach out to have no way to get in contact. So we're just going to do a solo Thursday night live stream, and then I'm going to have my post-game reaction up after Saturday. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. Does UCLA's pass game beat Nebraska's safeties, or do Gifford and Hartzog play a bit deeper this week? Is Raiola going to run more often now that he saw how much it worked against Ohio State? And where do you think UCLA ranks out of every team Nebraska's played so far? I think Rutgers is probably their best comp record-wise, but from a talent perspective, I think UCLA is a lot deeper on offense. But that's all I've got for today, so until next time, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.